Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time, as well as some modern releases I have recently finished. Today I want to look at a modern release that I finished over a year ago and just haven't been able to get a video out about the game because it is such an interesting and special experience, and it's been hard for me to know how to articulate this experience, but I think I've finally figured out how I want to talk about this game in a way that's still exciting and fun, but also doesn't spoil anything about this game. I'm going to be talking about The Outer Wilds. This is a really special and unique game. I remember my buddy was a big fan of this game. He was even going to let me borrow his entire Xbox One so that I could play this game because I didn't have an Xbox, I didn't have a gaming PC, so I had no way to play it when it first launched. And he said it was such an interesting and special game that he was willing to loan me his entire console to play it. And I was really intrigued by that. And I finally got around to playing it much later on in life. I didn't end up borrowing his console, but I got it when it came to the PlayStation, when it was on PlayStation Plus Extra. I'm finally going to try out this game. And I had one of the most special experiences playing a video game that I've ever had. And I really wanted to talk about it, but I want to talk about it in a way that doesn't spoil the experience for anybody. Because the best way to experience this game is pretty much with as little information as possible. But if you don't know anything about the Outer Wilds and you weren't going to go pick it up anyway, hopefully this will entice you to go try it out because it is so cool. So I'll be giving just little tiny bits and pieces. I won't go into spoiler territory about the story or the lore. I'll give you bits and pieces from the beginning and from some of the planets you can visit. I will try my best not to spoil anything major for you. I will do my very best to give you the bare bones and still make it exciting to listen to. So first and foremost, you start off as a race of people on this little planet who are spacefarers. They like to go off into space and they're studying a lot of ancient alien technology from this race that they don't know a whole lot about. They have some artifacts, they have some minor records and everything, but they want to learn more about these people. And as you go into one of these rooms, one of the alien artifacts actually turns and locks in eyes with you and does something, and something happens, a big flash of light, and suddenly you're like, what is going on? Nothing else happens after that, but it behaves a little bit interestingly with you. After you get the basics down and you learn about how to move around in this game, you get to go into your spacecraft for the very first time. Now this game can be played on PC, but I fully recommend you playing this with a controller. The game itself even recommends. This game was definitely built to play on controller. The controls are really interesting. They're hard to get a grip on, and it makes sense because this is your character's very first time going into space. Controlling a spacecraft is tricky, and so the controls are a bit tricky. They're very intuitive once you learn them, but they're a little bit difficult to manage at the very first, which is really cool because the more you play this game, the more you'll get the grasp of the controls, and you'll feel more like a spacefarer as you progress in the game. I really like how they present this. It's difficult and challenging, but in the best way possible. It's not inaccessible. It's just something you have to get the hang of. Taking off is its own beast. Landing on planets is a completely different one. You have to manage your jet boosters. You have to learn how to lock onto a planet and sync up your the way that you're doing the gravitational pull, and making sure that you're keeping up with their velocity. It's really intriguing how they've managed the spacefaring and making it so interesting and so much fun at the same time. Landing is super cool. You have tons of planets you can land on. The first venture into space, you'll go up and it's such a beautiful, breathtaking view. You come off your little planet and you see just an endless expanse, and the music backing you up is so gorgeous. The soundtrack throughout this game is actually one of its highlights. It really, every single planet has its own soundtrack, has its own backing music that makes it so beautiful and unique. And music actually plays an integral role in the rest of how you explore this game as well. Certain people on your planet, they'll be playing different instruments, and you have actually an instrument tracker. You can find them based using this, and they'll say how far away they are and the direction that you're supposed to go to find them. This kind of gives you clues on how to find some of your people that have been also spacefaring and looking at different planets and learning more about this other race of aliens that you're looking for. As you explore these planets, you'll find little pieces of lore. You'll find scrolls and text logs and all sorts of things that you can translate with your translator gun. And you'll get little information about the planet you're on, or maybe about some other planets that they've settled on, that they started building towers and home bases at. And as you uncover pieces of lore, you'll learn more about these other planets that you maybe haven't explored yet or haven't explored fully. Because you can go to each of these planets at any given point. There's no perfect sequence. There's no right way to explore this game. That's what makes it so enjoyable. You just go off into space and you pick the place you want to go to first. And it's beautiful that way. The way you uncover this game is completely at your own pace, and it really should be that way as well. You should not be looking up anything on this game. You should be fully exploring this game by yourself. It takes away the charm when you look up the solutions on how to progress because it's so open-ended. The way you explore the story and the way you uncover the secrets of these worlds and of this people that you're studying is really the whole adventure. And as you scan these texts that you uncover, the things that you translate, as you pore over them, you'll learn more about this race and what they've been doing. I won't spoil what the story is, but the more you uncover, the more you'll want to explore these other places and find out what they're talking about in these records. You'll have to, as you go back to your spaceship, it will record all the data that you have found from all these scrolls and such, and then you'll have that persistently. Now, each and every run of this game is going to be only 22 minutes long. This will be my first real, mini spoiler of the game, the first major mechanic of the game. If you've heard anything about it, you're likely familiar with it, but you have a 22-minute cycle every time you play this game, because at the end of the 22 minutes, the sun explodes randomly out of the blue and destroys everything in its wake. But the first time you die, if it's from the sun exploding or not managing your oxygen while you're out exploring and actually suffocating or falling from too great a height, whatever happens for you to die the very first time, you see a little flashback going in or a little rewind going in reverse, and you see all the stuff that you've experienced throughout this run, and then you wake up just like you did the very first time you're playing the game, the first time you wake up at your campsite about ready to go out and explore, and you start over at the beginning. You're trapped in this time loop of 22 minutes. That's how much time you have to explore the world around you and find out new information. It's a brilliant little mechanic, almost like a roguelike element to put into this big adventure game. It's pretty brilliant, and I love what they do with this as well. I love how you have to manage your resources effectively. Utilizing your ship is really important. If you leave it out in the middle of space, you can get out of your ship at any point. But if you leave it or leave it in a place where it's not going to stay, it will float off into space and leave you behind. You have to make sure you're putting it in a spot that is protected and safe. If you crash your ship at any point, you can damage it. You have to get out and repair the ship, which is really easy. You just have to find the right spot. But sometimes if you damage the ship, it won't be able to land effectively, and then it will start floating off. There's a lot of nuance to how this game treats the ship itself, treats your resources. You have oxygen and little boosters on your suit so you can fly around freely. You have to go back to your ship to up your oxygen or your fuel. But there are also things like trees on these planets that will revitalize your oxygen all the way, and you can refuel at that point too, which is a really beautiful thing. If you're out and exploring and you're running out of oxygen, if you know where the trees are, you can go refill your oxygen there. So resource management is really, really important. Different planets also have different gravity, so your boosters may work really well on some planets that have low gravity because you can just kind of float around. You don't have to worry about landing as much. Some have really high gravity, or certain points of the planet have really high gravity. You have to be really careful about what you do. The planets all are very unique as well. I will give you just a little bit of information on some of them. One of the planets you go into, it's like a completely enveloped in water, very few places on land. You can go explore under the water, but you have to manage your oxygen just like you would anywhere else. You have little pieces of land that you can go on, and you have tornadoes circling on the water all over the place. That can pick up and will pick up your ship and send it out into space, which can be really annoying. You have another planet you have other places like a little moon orbiting some of the planets that's just really basic and simple. Some are like a lava planet with very few places to land or be able to get out. You have another place that's two planets adjacent to each other. One is full of sand, and it's dumping sand into this other planet that is pretty barren and empty. And as the sand uncovers this one planet, you have more things you can explore, and as it covers the other, you have less. Or sometimes they correlate to each other and find different things based on what timing of the cycle of the sand dumping. It's really brilliant how they make the mechanics of each planet and how they change over the course of that 22-minute interval. And the more that you uncover, the more you're going to want to explore. If you comb over all of your information that you learn, you'll find out secrets about some of these planets that you wouldn't know otherwise. You might just stumble upon a hidden little cavern on a planet and find some new piece of information. That does happen. But generally speaking, finding these pieces of lore is vital to your exploration. And it's not an easy game to decipher the lore either. Finding all this information is just the beginning. Deciphering it and understanding what they're talking about is another piece of the puzzle. This is not a super easy game. They don't give you a ton of signposting. The early lore and stuff, yeah, it absolutely will. But you have to, once you get deeper and deeper and you want to fully explore this game and find out all the secrets and really get to the actual ending of the story, you'll find is very challenging. But it's worth the effort of combing through this information because it is so rewarding when you find out some new secret that you didn't understand before until you found this little piece of lore, decipher this little piece that they're talking about. It's brilliant how they handle exploration, how they handle the story itself. This is so lore dense and so lore rich. Everything you learn is so interesting and unique. These people are so cool, and you wonder why they have been missing, why you don't know anything, where you don't know very much about them. And it's so brilliant to uncover these things. It's really cool also to find your fellow race on these other planets. You find them playing their instruments, and you go and land next to them, you talk to them, and they'll give you a little information about what they've found. Or say like, I've been stranded here for a while, my spaceship broke, and I'm just stuck here, but I've just been chilling. It's really cool and really charming, and it's probably one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had. Actually getting to the end game is quite a challenge, but it is so rewarding in the most unique way I've ever had an experience with gaming. I don't know how much more I want to talk about this game because I think I would do it injustice, or I would like spoil too much for you, but this truly is one of the most special experiences I have ever had. I remember getting to the very end and like feeling almost nostalgic, feeling like teary-eyed at finally getting to the conclusion of the story. It is something out of this world fantastic. If it weren't for some of the slew of fantastic games that came out this year, I think Outer Wilds really should have won Game of the Year. It had a real chance at winning, and this is a smaller indie style game, but like double A or single A game. It's such a unique and beautiful experience. I have wrestled with putting this in my top 10 video games of all time as well. I'm still in that process of evaluating, does this belong here? Because it's such a special and groundbreaking experience. If you have not played it, it's on pretty much every major platform now. It's on PlayStation. It just came to Switch fairly recently, the full edition with like the DLC as well. I did not play the DLC, but I've heard it is also spectacular and really special. I plan to go back and play it sometime. It's on the Xbox, it's on PC. So if you have not played this game and it sounds intriguing to you, I promise you this will be one of the most magical experiences you've ever had. And if you don't make it all the way to the end, just exploring this beautiful world that they've created and finding out as much as you want to about this game will also be equally enjoyable for you. So I'm going to give The Outer Wilds a platinum rank, my highest recommendation. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.